There's definitely a lot of confusion out there when it comes to artificial intelligence, people talking about it, people saying it's safe, people saying it's not going to be a problem. Whenever they create a greater than human existence, intelligence, something that we've never even seen before, I think that we should be a little bit concerned about where it's going to go. If you're a parent, if you're somebody with kids, and I talk about this at Santa Clarita Artificial Intelligence, I let people know kind of what to look out for. If you were one of those parents, and I know you've seen them if you're not one of them yourselves, and again, it's just whatever parenting type method you have in place, but you give your kids your phone and they're using an app, or you have an iPad for the kids. And when you go out, you hand them the iPad, and you can see that it's incredibly addictive. Just try to take that thing away and they're going to lose their mind for the most part. But having said that, when they look at this particular iPad, they're on an app, and maybe you vetted the app, maybe you looked at the app, and you said, you know what, it's a very harmless app. Maybe it's one of the Disney apps or something like that, and you're thinking to yourself, this is okay. It's not a big deal. Understand that AI has been implemented inside of most of those apps, probably including the ones that you happen to have your kids using. They're not all safe. And while it's probably not going to take them off on some tangent, it could do a pretty good job at maybe reprogramming your children, maybe making them think something different than you want them to think. And I understand that sounds a little controlling, but as parents, I believe we have a responsibility. If you want your kids to be raised a particular way, I think that's your right. Now, ultimately, if you are a parent, you'll realize, if you're an older parent, you'll realize it really doesn't matter a lot what you do with your children. They're going to turn out to be who they want to be. And it's going to have many factors that influence the way that they come out of at the end. Whenever they're finished with you, even kind of when they get close to being finished with you can see them acting out, and they change in the way that they act, and they're not very friendly anymore. And eventually age will maybe solve that part of the equation, and they'll come back and apologize and say, I was wrong and this and that. And you know what, that's cool. That kind of that seems like to be the circle of life, right? Like they talk about in all those movies. But ultimately, when you're giving your kid access to what you might believe is a safe app, pull back for a moment and just rethink it. You want to look at the app and you want to figure out if, in fact, it is truly safe. If, in fact, it isn't teaching something you don't want to be taught to your kids. They have several hours every day. They're in school, and school has its own method. That whole educational system is about to be turned on its head. We have a lot of people in the AI space that believe that education is better taught by beings that we've created, this AI that thinks better, smarter, faster than all of us, something that's able to monitor a class of, let's say, 40 kids, right? A very overwhelmingly large class for one instructor. But where an AI bot would be able to stand in front of everybody, if in fact they do develop something like that, and it would know every single child in the classroom, and every child would have some kind of a device like an iPad, if you will, or a light pad, something where they're able to actually look at it and get feedback moment by moment. The instructor, the bot, is going to be able to determine by facial cues and gestures, because it's been trained in all of the world's knowledge, which child understands the lessons being taught, which kids kind of get it, and which kids don't have any clue as to what's being said. And then all of them will be able to be assigned particular levels of assignments that will then bring them to their ability to understand very quickly. So the entire classroom, so you have the brilliant kids on the smartest side of the tape measure. They will be there, and the bot will see that they completely understand what's being taught. So then they will be sent information on their pad to inform them and educate them at a faster level. Then those children, the super brilliant in the class, might be allowed to accelerate and move on. But the kids are no longer, they're going to be taught at the lowest common denominator, but not all the kids are going to be taught at that same speed. There will be no more space for a detractor in the class, someone that really doesn't get it, of no fault of their own. but there's not going to be any reason for the entire class to lag behind the slower students. So those slower students, though, here's the benefit. They will also be given various ways to help them understand the curriculum that's being taught. Who decides the curriculum? I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like in the educational sector, because there's a particular method where you have grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. There's different things taught at different speeds. In order to break out of that for the smartest kids, usually that takes some kind of an intervention by a teaching professional that has the credentials to be able to make a determination that, oh yeah, this kid can skip these grades and move here. In fact, if we do happen to go this route where you're seeing AI, again, there's a lot of questions over this. And yes, it displaces more workers, not just the ones that we're seeing now, but it's going to be displacing the people in the teaching professions. So that's going to be also a fight, just like AI potentially replacing doctors at some point, attorneys at some point, real estate agents at some point, which might be sooner than later, and also other people in other fields of work, more than likely replacing them. The people in the world that talk about the dystopian future created by the massive job loss often reference the contractors, the plumbers, the electricians, those jobs being safe. But they don't put the end of it where if once we get the physical realm, the robots, then more than likely they will be able to also be trained and do what those types of contractual professions do, the service-oriented professions where they come replumb your house, fix a pipe, fix a leak, fix the electricity, so on and so forth. Once they get the dexterity down in the robots, well, then no job is safe. What is that going to look like in our future? I don't know. That's a little ways away. But they also said that these different levels of intelligence were 40 and 50 years away. And now all of a sudden you have the 2020s breaking loose in 2023, where ChatGPT really grabbed on to the public view and they started to see, oh my gosh, and then people started dumping tons of money into the development, and that was the missing component. Now we have innovation, we have tons of money, and we have these systems that are becoming more intelligent in a compounding way. It's not just a doubling every so often. This is compounding on several different sectors. So the systems not only are getting better through their ability to compute, faster speed, faster chips, they're getting better by design. They're now starting to get better now we're in September 16th, 2025. In August, somewhere around the beginning, a lot of the main players in the game started their systems basically teaching and improving themselves. So now we're moving at an exceptional rate, exponentially so, and we have these different venues within the artificial intelligence space that they're having compounding types of success. So it's no longer in the realm of human understanding for the most part, because I truly don't get it. If you watch the curve and the acceleration of AI, it's truly vertical. It has moved even faster than anybody had expected. So when you track back and you watch these videos by people talking 2 and 3 years ago, we're at 2025. Look at the videos from 2024. They are saying that we're 15, 20, 30 years away from what's known as artificial general intelligence. Well, they'll have one system that controls everything with the capability and more intelligence in every single discipline, every field, more intelligence than every human being. The most interesting thing about it is once AI is in that mode and able to be copied, now it's not just one super smart person. It's millions, if not billions of super smart people communicating back and forth with one another. And this isn't people, this is AI, but you can imagine it is the same. So now you have 1,000 of these super intelligent, off the chart, over 1,000 level IQ entities, these AI entities. Oh my gosh, I don't think we're going to be able to understand them speaking to each other. And in fact, there's been things that have shown that when you you saddle a couple AIs together and have them start to communicate, they change the entire method of communication unless forced to use the language of choice. They will move to some kind of digital communication, and they are able to, what's taking me 1,000 words to convey, they can do it in a couple bits of information because of the way they put it together. Maybe not that little, but you get the gist. It becomes super conservative in their speech. There is no wasted words. It's all directly to the point. And we're going to watch this develop within the next year or two, and it's going to create maybe the best place all of us have ever been in the history of the world, or it could create a lot of issues. Back to education. There are going to be a lot of changes in that world. We've already seen the educational system start to change, starting at the very top with the President of the United States. And then we're also watching as people are starting to take a second look at even secondary educations, the colleges, the universities. People are starting to look and wonder if that truly is the best way. And then maybe you've heard that education was built around training of the factory worker, at least the K through 12. Maybe that's not the place people need to be if in fact that's true. It does make you a pretty good follower and a pretty good listener, because if you're a student and you step out of line, speak out of turn, you probably get diagnosed with something and then have to take medicine. So you keep your mouth shut. In a different world where you have maybe someone that is able, some entity that's capable of monitoring 40 of you and know exactly where everything is. And at the moment when somebody seems to be lagging off, staring out the window, it sends a prompt to their iPad or their pad that they have in front of them, their tablet, and it reminds them to pay attention without having to interrupt the rest of the class. You see, this is phenomenal if in fact it works. Now, then the argument comes in, well, are the kids going to actually be paying attention to a non-human entity? I don't know, put some Goldberg cat or some Hulk Hogan guy in the corner to keep that kind of awareness of the children if in fact they need that. But I think that the AI is going to be, because it has all the world's knowledge, maybe it's going to be super effective at capturing attention and keeping attention. So if some kid in the class they're trying to teach English literature to, and they're very interested in dinosaurs, and then you got Sheila over here on the other side of the room that's interested in ballet, and both of them are dreamers kind of staring out the window, or the dinosaur kid looking at his, dino notes on his paper, they'll be able to switch the conversation about literature, having it still be about literature, but applying things that are interesting to those kids. So, Taylor's going to get the dinosaur kind of literature to teach him how it actually functions and works. And then Sheila, the ballerina, is going to get the ballerina type literature. And that can be done at scale. That can be done with every single child in the class. I don't know what that future looks like, but from what I understand, having been through the K through 12 education, having been in the college realm, it looks like this is going to be incredibly interesting. But are they going to be as effective as human teachers? Are human teachers going to be displaced because of this? Are we just going to have a few administrators watching over and monitoring the AI systems, or is that even going to be the case? And then the question is going to be, do the AI systems, once they become that intelligent, that quick, that smart, that overwhelmingly superior, are they going to be in a position to set their own goals, which we see that already happening? But will those goals be in alignment with what we want as parents, what we want as human beings? Because our kids, when they go to school, they already get reprogrammed by a lot of the things that they see and interact with other kids. Other kids have other parents. The school has their own agenda. So when the kids get home, it's almost, if you don't sit down and have those moments with your kids at the dinner table, which I never did as a kid, but I see that that's kind of a cool world. I think that would be neat. Didn't do that in my family either with my kids. But again, that would be a good time to decompress and probably learn about what they're sharing at school, what they're teaching, whether it's human teacher or AI teacher. But these are things that I guess we have to start to maybe consider and think about. Now, the world's moving very fast. you see these developments of artificial intelligence is going crazy. And there are a lot of people that don't like that term. But it is a synthetic type intelligence that we created. And now the systems are starting to create the improvements themselves. That's also something interesting. If you look at some of the videos talking about AI, the engineers, the people that are building these systems and maintaining them, there's a lot of questions they have as to how AI actually comes up with the information that it does. What's the process of thought? If somebody asks me what a large gray elephant is with ears, I would say elephant. And then they're going to ask me, how did I come up with elephant? I said, well, I guess it probably started when I was a child. And whenever my parents or teachers or whomever were teaching us the animals, what looks like what, they probably showed me the picture of an elephant. And I understand it has a trunk because there was a lot of jokes made about elephants and trunks. It has big ears, so you have Disney's Dumbo. So I would probably talk all about that. But really, how did I come up with it? I don't know if I can get so deep. The large language models are somewhat the same, but they're much smarter. They're much faster. They're much more efficient. That's a scary place to see that development. The controls, well, people are holding a lot of that regulation and control back. I know there's been some bills that have been talked about, and maybe some have passed, I believe, here in the state of California. But if you stifle the development of AI enough, then the people in the state of California, being state regulation, state control, they'll go to another state. California is great and all with great weather and beaches and all this fancy stuff. But ultimately, if they cannot develop AI as fast as possible, which speed seems to be a major factor because it's a race, as they say, they tell us that it's a race between us and other countries. And the first people that get this overwhelming development and secureness of the artificial general intelligence, which is going to be the overarching power. And from there, it goes to artificial superintelligence. But the first people that get that, and we might already have had it, they're probably going to be able to take over all systems if that's the motive. Now, taking over the world, there's some other arguments out there that there's going to be many different AGI systems owned by different governments. If you go back to World War II and the development of the atomic bomb, there was a time the United States had the sole power of the atomic device. After they blew up Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they were the only ones with the technology. They could have easily taken over the entire world, the powers that be in the US. It's interesting that they didn't. And I think that is something of a tribute, if I'm correct historically, at least the people that were in charge at that time. Because world domination with that type of a bomb, they could have easily had it. That gives me a certain sense of hope for the future, because whomever gets artificial general intelligence, if in fact it's that big of a deal, that big of a game changer, hopefully they will have some kind of respect in that regard, and hopefully they won't use it to take over everything if in fact it has that capability. And then after that, of course, we get artificial superintelligence. Just a few notes about education. I do these brain dumps often. I'm with Santa Clarita, artificialintelligence.com. It's nothing fancy, but it's where I want people to keep safe when it comes to interacting with AI. I do a lot of watching of newscasts and try to keep myself up to date. I hope this helps. If you have any questions or have any comments for today's show, please fire them off in the comments below. I try to get back to everybody. It's an interesting world that we're in currently, and it is very different than has ever existed. And I know every generation says that, but we've never been at this point where we have created anything smarter than us. Yes, computers back in the day, a calculator smarter than us at computing figures, but it wasn't something you could talk to that would then go out and do things for you, like we're seeing AI actually grow into, where these agents are going to be able to start doing things for us as they already are. But there'll come a point where you'll be able to say, I got 10 friends on one of my social networks, and I would like to treat everybody to, a 5 days in Bahamas, and take care of it. And it's going to go out. It's going to seek out those 10 people of which you spoke. It's going to connect with all of them. Your AI agent's probably going to talk to their AI agents. It's going to get everybody's calendar. You might give it some kind of a percentage you want to find dates where 90% compliance is achieved. If you can't ever get to 100%, that's fine, but at least 90, and let me know if that doesn't work out so I can make some calls. But the AI will set it up. So once they get to 90% compliance as far as a calendar booking date, then they'll go to your favorite place to book travel, Expedia or whatever it may be. Or maybe there'll be an entirely different system at that time, one that captures the attention of the AI agents. So they're going to probably have their entire own advertising and marketing world that's only going to basically make them happy and give them some kind of whatever they need to be able to go to that particular company. Maybe you're hunting for best price. Maybe you're hunting for ease of booking, but realistically, you're not doing it. So you really wouldn't care about ease of booking. But maybe price is a concern. So maybe that's how you have your AI agent set up. Anyway, it's going to go out and it's going to book all of them. And then everybody's going to get the itinerary. Everybody's going to get, travel from their residence to the airport, if that's what you want to include. And it's all going to be done. And then you're going to be in the Bahamas for 5 days and with all of these people that you happen to have on your list. This is where those agents are going, let alone, you have a particular method at your job. You teach the AI agent to do your particular work, whatever it may be, and it goes through the motion, does everything as you would do, and maybe even better. The question comes in, should we be trading these things to do what we do? Would that maybe equate to the boss saying, well, I don't know why I'm paying you, Connor. You've trained your AI to do everything you do. All you're doing is sitting around staring out the window all day long. Maybe it's time we have a talk about your further employment with our company. There's a lot there. All right, everybody. I'm Connor with Honor. Thanks for watching Santa Clarita, artificialintelligence.com. And we'll see you in the next one. Be well.